Hi, Mr. Bob Malone. Welcome to Linea Rock.
Hi, ciao, Barbara.
Ciao, Bob. Good to have you. So you're an unstoppable wizard virtuoso of the ebony and ivory keys. Bob Malone himself, you have played with a number of artists of the highest level, the excellence of rock, I must say, from Al Green to Jackson Browne, Neville Brothers, Dr. John, Bruce Springsteen, and Leon Russell. And until 2010, you joined John Fogerty band of CCR fame, of course. 11 years on the most important stages worldwide, including Hyde Park in London, where you caught the definitive attention of both the fans and the media, the press, everybody. Your style, Bob, embraces rock and more shameless role, let's say, and it's contaminated with the sound of New Orleans and the soul of pure Detroit brand. We are here to present your 8th solo album, Good People. And about Good People, why this one you chose, this one as the title track for the record? And who's the good people? Like the players in the record, the listeners, the inspirations behind the song, and where did you shoot the video that we're about to see?
Well, I chose the title because that was the first song that came out, and I spent months trying to figure out what the title would be, and I couldn't think of anything else, so I called it Good People, because the song had already been out, and also, it was the kind of the centerpiece of the whole project was this song. So there was that. And the good people are people everywhere who do good things. Like the loudest people that you hear about every day are the people that are, bad and trying to make you feel bad and feel uncomfortable and fighting. But there are just millions more people going about their business quietly, making the world a better place. And you never hear about those people. So that's what it's about. What was the third question?
Where did you shoot the video?
That's shot? Right. We shot the video here in LA on a rooftop in downtown Los Angeles, and also in the subway in Los Angeles. And we got off the subway and we shot some of it in front of Union Station, which is the big historic train station in downtown LA. We tried to shoot in there, and they kicked us out.
Okay, and who's all the good people in the video?
Oh well, there's the Malonettes. Those are all my background singers. My wife is one of them, and Trissette, and Levon, who passed away last year. It's really sadly, and Celeste. They're all in it, and I'm in it. Oh, and then we had fans.
Yeah.
We had fans send in little video clips of themselves.
Sure.
So those are just all kinds of fans and friends and people that sent video from all over the world. There's some Italians in there.
Oh, also Italians. Good.
Yeah, a couple of Italians for sure. Yeah.
Bob, do you want to introduce a video for us, Good People?
Oh yeah, this is the Good People video shot, on the roof in LA, and we're really happy how it came out.
So Malone sounds Italian, but your real surname, I read, it's Malone.
That's right.
Was it like, Malone, then Americanized, and now back to the Italian spell? Because, when immigrants came to America, sometimes their names were misspelled. So
right. It was always Balloon. And when I first started playing as Balloon, nobody could pronounce it. Nobody spelled it right. Usually it would be misspelled as Malone. They'd look at it and they'd figure, oh, that can't be right, because it's so unusual, And so they just changed it to Malone anyway. And so finally, just because it's hard enough to be a musician, I just changed it, to make that part of my life easier to deal with. Yeah, I saw some spectacular misspellings over the first 3 or 4 years of my musical career. And I finally said, this can't be happening. So Malone, everybody got that, and it really, I only had to change 2 letters,
Sure. But
Yeah.
what's the origin of your family?
The Malones came over, I think, from Germany
Okay.
in the, they all went to New England. Like they're mostly in Maine, New Hampshire,
Yeah.
up there. Yeah.
How does it feel for you finding yourself frontline as a solo artist? Putting also your face on your talent at the service of the music. I guess it's 2 different dimensions, playing and working for somebody else, or being on the spot as Bob Malone yourself.
Oh, yeah. I mean, way before I played for John, I was a solo artist, That's mostly what I've done. Like I played for other people, of course, and I've done a lot of recording work for other people, but that job, is the first time I was really playing in a band of someone, that big and famous,
Yeah.
And, I mean, when you play for somebody like that, you give them what they want, right? You're really there to serve the song, If you give the song what it wants, then the artist is going to be happy, It's
Yeah.
not about me, it's about him. And then when it's, I like that gig because there's no pressure on me, There's a big crowd. They're all there to see him. I don't have to worry about whether the show goes well or not. I don't have to worry about anything. I got to just go out there and play my part. And, I'm like, And then when I do my show, of course, I have to worry about everything. I have to worry about technical problems. I have to sit backstage and think, oh, I'm not good enough to do this. I can't go out there, and I have to go, I have to make sure the band is on time, and I have to worry about all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And whether anyone shows up to the show, So, but it has its own rewards. Like, I love to play my own songs in front of people. You look out there and they know they're singing the words to your song that you wrote. There's nothing quite as wonderful as seeing that.
And do you think that your artistic path has been influenced some way after you joined John Fogerty?
I think so, yeah, just because, I was always a fan of his way before I had that job, but just seeing it happen every night is inspiring. And those songs are just so great, There's a lot to learn. They're very simple, but it is very hard to write great, simple songs like that. Very hard. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn from what's left out as much as what's in there,
Yeah.
And it's all been inspiring to me. I think I've become a better songwriter being around that every night, And it also teaches you the value of just being original, like he sings 2 notes and it's him,
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah,
That's a good point. So if I'm not wrong, this is the 8th album since 2001. Is that correct?
Oh, my first album was in '96, and
wow, even before. All right.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm old. I think it's the 10th. I think it's the 10th one now.
Okay.
Since '96. Yeah.
Okay, so 10th album since '96. How long have you been working on these particular songs, and which is the primal urgency behind, this choice of having a parallel solo career? Is this the same as back in '96, or now you have, different need of expression? And also, what's the surprise this time? Or do you prefer actually to move in a comfort zone?
Yeah, I got way out of my comfort zone for this record. I mean, a lot of the songs are very kind of revealing. It's like stuff you don't normally tell people, but you want to tell people, so you put it in your song, And like I'm laying it all out there, like me being a bad person, me being depressed, all those kinds of things. But they're all very kind of universal feelings, people hear them and they're like, oh, that's me, and
yeah.
I a lot of times I'll come up with a song like that. It's like opening your diary for the whole world to see, and you finish it and you're like, I'm not putting that one out in public, but of course you do, and that's the song everyone likes the most, that's the one that really gets to people. So there's that, and what else?
How long did it take to compose the record?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so it was about 3 years we worked on it. I mean, not all the time. It's like I was on the road a lot, traveling, so I only got to work on it here and there. Like if I had been off the road, I probably we could have just sat there for 2 months and finished it up, right? It was kind of like that. And then we cut the very last song the day in March of last year, the day they shut down everything. And so it was done right then. And it got mixed during the pandemic and everything. And then it was all ready to go last year, but I just didn't want to put it out last year. It was, you know what I mean? It was like weird. And so I waited till now, which I think was a good move, although it was really hard to just sit on it because it was supposed to come out early last year, So we spent some time. I recorded in a bunch of different places. Like we cut some of it here in LA. I cut some of it in New Orleans. With some players down there, great players. And in New York City, we cut a track. So I worked on it while I was traveling as well. But it just kind of, when you're traveling, it's hard to fit in the record sometimes,
Sure.
And I do sessions for other people. So I get home, I'm like, okay, I'm home. I can work on my record. And then I get calls to play on other people's records. And, that's it's my income too. So.
But since the record was frozen there, did you maybe think, of recut something since, you had time because it was postponed, or right. you left it like it was?
I was happy with it. I was happy with it. I really just wanted it out.
Yeah.
I got to a point where it was just kind of hanging over me, and I liked it. And part of it too is I really liked it, which I never liked my records, but I really liked this one, and I was like, well, God, I don't want to put it out at the wrong time, and I don't know if maybe I should put it out at all, I don't know. I went through it was a rough year for all of us,
Sure.
I wasn't really myself that year at all. So it was a tough time, and I didn't really know what to do. I was kind of frozen, like everybody, I didn't know what was happening next. I didn't know how long it was going to last. And all of that was like just me. It just resulted in me not putting my record out till this year. I'm glad I waited, because I'm going to play live later this year. And
sure.
That's amazing. Because I've played live, since I was 17, I haven't gone this long without playing, So it's really an odd place for me to be. It's never happened to me before.
Oh, yeah. You never stopped since you were 17.
No, I never stopped. No period since I was a teenager where I stopped. I was always playing. I was always on the road. I was always working. And, I took a vacation for a week a couple of times, but that was it.
But that was it. Okay.
And even that was like, I can't take a week off. I'll never work again,
Sure. Do you consider your music as rock, as blues, as soul or something in between with a hint of, New Orleans sound, Detroit soul, or, definitions are not so important, especially for somebody like you who play everything.
Yeah, I never really fit into any genre, It was kind of intentional because I started out as a classically trained, I wanted to be a concert pianist. And then I was also a big jazz fan, and I loved all kinds of rock and roll and blues, and so I just loved a lot of things, and I just wanted to mix them all together and make kind of my own thing out of it. So it's always been kind of hard to classify exactly what it is I'm doing. I mean, I'm a rock guy overall,
Yeah.
but all the rest is also happening in there.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of genres. It's confining. It's like it either sounds good or it doesn't sound good. That's pretty much it. If you get hung up on, people get hung up on, well, that's not really rock, and like, who cares? That's really not blues. I'm like, who cares? That doesn't. Is it good or is it not good? If you determine whether it's good or not based on whether it fits into the parameters of a genre, then you're not really judging the thing on its merits at all.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with me. Anyway, it would have been easier for me career-wise had I picked, one thing to fit into, but I just couldn't really be that because I've just played too much stuff and listened to too much stuff and absorbed various. I started young that way. Like, I loved all these things that weren't the same thing, and that was just my musical origins, so to speak, was all these different things that maybe you might, people who played classical music, a lot of times they just are immersed in that, Anyway, that's what happened to me. So I don't know what to call it, except rock and roll.
Let's call it Bob Malone.
Yeah, call it Bob Malone music.
Okay. Your music certainly delivers, good vibes. Something which it's never enough of, especially in the last few months. Is this your first goal? Or it comes naturally like this because you are, the first one enjoying it to the fullest yourself?
I love to play, that thing has never changed. I still feel like a teenager when I play music. All the traveling and the hotel rooms and all the rest, that doesn't really appeal to me anymore. But I love to play, and the vibes are real. It's that's just me enjoying myself and having a good time, and music makes me happy in a way that nothing else can make me happy. I can't really describe it. It goes back to, when I was 10, I decided I was going to be a musician. Yeah. And that's never changed, It's all I've ever done. It makes me happy.
So now we're going to see the Oh Well video, which is a Fleetwood Mac cover. Do you want to introduce it to us and tell us the story behind this choice?
Yeah. Well, I've always loved that song, really loved that song. And it's such a guitar song, it's just a classic guitar riff. And so I never thought of it as something I could play myself, but I always wanted to. I was like, God, I want to play that song, but it's such a guitar song. There's no way. And then one day I decided to see if I could, especially because people are like, well, you can't play it on piano, And I was like, oh, don't tell me I can't do something. So I sat down and I figured it out on piano, and, it kind of lays funny and very, like... Anyway, I turned it into a piano thing, basically. And it worked. So I pulled it off, I think. And then this video is a live performance. It's not the version that's on a record, but it's the same way I play it, but it's live. But it kind of shows off what it's like when I play live, you know. And that funny looking red piano with the short strings, it's in the video. That's the one I played the record. Yeah, I played on the record. You know, it's a Yamaha Electric Grand. It's this. They used to make these. They were portable pianos, right?
Yeah.
Before there were like digital pianos and keyboards like that, and you could break it into two pieces. We're still really heavy, but a lot lighter than a regular Grand. So I've had that. I bought that thing when I was in college, and I've had it for 30 years. You know,
wow.
I love that. It didn't look like that when I got it. I had it all redone.
Okay, and it was red originally, or
no, it wasn't red. It was black.
Okay,
it was just black. It had a black top. So I used it for years, and it got really destroyed and trashed, and it was kind of unusable. And it was in my dad's garage, and he's like, "I'm moving. You have to get this thing out of here," you know. So I took it to this shop, Custom Vintage Keyboards, that works on all these old keyboards that I have, and they totally rebuilt it. And the black covering had to be replaced. So they're like, "Let's make it a color." So we made it red, and then I was like, I would love for everyone to see inside, to see that there's a real piano there, right? And so we made the plexiglass top. Yeah, they did a great job on it. So it's really, there's nothing else quite like it now.
And that's your favorite piano?
Yeah, well, you know, my favorite piano is a Steinway Concert Grand, but I can't afford one of those. It's my favorite piano of mine. You know? Okay,
cool. Bob, one listener is asking if you like combat sports. Maybe he knows something I don't, but he's asking if you like combat sports, especially Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Oh, no, I don't know anything about combat sports or Brazilian jiu-jitsu. But I have to say that's the first time anyone has ever asked me that. So I'll never forget this moment.
Among all your excellent collaborations, which is the one that you got the most out of, and which is the one that you feel you gave the most to, both musically and in terms of devotion?
Oh, collaborations, you mean?
Sessions or tours? Oh.
I don't know. I mean, I give the most I can give to every session I do, no matter who it is. But the biggest session I ever did was 3 years ago. I played on a Ringo Starr record, and and I was a big Beatles freak. The Beatles were one of the things that made me stop being a classical pianist and made me a rock and roll musician. So very big deal to me. And went over to his house and played. He has a studio there in his big house. It was only 10 minutes from here, up in the Hollywood Hills, up in the better neighborhood, And that was an amazing day for me to be able to do that. That ended, I was like, well, I don't know what else will happen to me in my life, but I got to play with the Beatles today.
Yeah.
I can't really top it. So
yeah, sure.
Anyway, that was a big deal. But every session to me is the same, and that I want to do the best I can do. And if you play music and you're not going to feel it in some way, then there's no point in playing. Every night when I go out to play live, no matter what kind of mood I might be in, sometimes you're really tired or you're depressed or whatever, but when I get out there, I just give my all I have, because that's the whole point, is to communicate with people and to make people feel better. Making people feel better is my job, basically. I can look out to the crowd and see that, a bunch of people had a crappy day and, they're in a bad mood and they showed up, and then by the time they leave, they're in a good mood, and that means I did my job.
Sure.
and they feel, and everyone feels better. That's really the whole point of it. So in order for me to do that, I have to really commit myself no matter what the situation is.
Yeah. So you told us before that you started playing at 10 years old, age 10. Why the keyboards, and which was your ultimate piano hero, let's say? Was it a classical one since you started, the classical way?
Yeah, at first it was Vladimir Horowitz, right, the classical pianist. I kind of knew I was never going to play with him. And then it was Billy Joel, when I discovered rock and roll, right? And Chick Corea was also a huge piano hero of mine then. These were my big formative, people. And I started when I was 9, actually, and we had an organ in the house, like one of those little home organs, right? And my dad used to play it when he'd come home from work, and have a drink and play the organ to relax. He wasn't talented, he wasn't very good at it. He'd be the first to tell you. But they were just like, my parents were just like, you should take lessons, be a well-rounded kid, like have some music lessons. No one thought anything was going to happen, So I started taking the organ lessons first. Yeah. And I didn't want to play it first. And about a year into it, all of a sudden I could just rip on the keyboard. And from that moment on, that's all I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And that whole time I really wanted to play piano. Like even before I ever played, I used to just walk up to pianos and stare at them. Like I was drawn to pianos for some reason, for some reason I didn't even know, and so then we had a piano and an organ, and I learned to play both, basically. Okay. Yeah, and that's what happened.
You studied at Berklee College of Music, which is one of the most famous in the world. What's the plus, about music school for you? And how, somebody who studied music like you did since the early age, on the other hand, can explain that technique and theory could never be enough. Because, you cannot learn the feeling, the talent, the love for music. What's the perfect balance among the two?
Yeah, I think about that a lot because I've met people who have lots of musical training and they just musically, they don't do anything for you. And I've met people who can't read any music or anything and they make great music. I think all of those things don't matter so much as what the end result is. Going to music school and learning theory and learning to read music and being trained, to me, is very helpful just because it makes it easier to get my job done. It makes me easier to communicate with other musicians. I can write down what I want. I can do my own arranging. I get the big picture of what's going on. I can know what other instruments are supposed to do and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the feeling and the soul and all that, you don't get that at school. The whole time I was going to school, I was also playing every night.
Okay.
Right? I was playing in a bar every night. And that was equally as much my education as going to music school. I learned what it was like to play for people and, have bad, situations and have to win over a hostile audience and how to get a thing across to people and make people feel something. All those things they don't teach you in school, but school is good for knowing what it is you're doing. Like I know people who make music and it's all very mysterious to them. Like they don't know what it is. It sounds great, but they don't know what any of those things are. And it doesn't really matter. But you can do more with it, I think, when you know what it is,
Yeah.
And you can certainly explain it to other people better and get what you want. It's easier for me to get what I want out of other musicians because I can, there's a language.
Yeah.
It's all that kind of stuff. It's a very good skill to have. And also being classically trained made me it just made me a good piano. I made me able to do a lot of things just on a technical level, you know?
Sure.
But yeah, is when it came to rock and roll and blues and New Orleans music and soul and all that stuff, I studied records, you know, I studied different players, and I just listened and listened and listened till I absorbed what was going on overall, not just the notes, but, you know, the feeling. A lot of time I would not concentrate too much on learning all the notes, so I didn't end up sounding exactly like somebody else, but I more concentrated on, well, it's got a feel to it, you know,
sure.
It's got a groove to it. And those things are very hard to absorb, you know, if you're not paying attention to that part of it.
Sure.
And that became more my focus than the notes. Because the notes were easy, you know, because I knew I could write them down, you know.
Yeah.
Right. The rest was the hard part.
What piece of advice would you give to the youngest musicians that aim to pursue, you know, a career like yours, which you have your solo path and you express yourself, and also, you know, you play sessions and you live with the music? Which is the piece of advice that you would give to make it? Yeah,
I mean, you definitely should do it for love, not necessarily to be famous. Like, you might become famous, you might not. But the important thing is to be a musician 100%. If you don't commit, and you can't kind of half commit to it, you just have to be all in or all out, because it's a life. You know, it's more than just playing music for fun. It's a whole sacrifice. You know, I spent years and years and years not having normal stuff that other people have, and security that other people have, and a normal relationships that other people have, you know. You have to just dedicate yourself. You just have to love doing it. If you know, that has to be the primary thing. If you kind of like doing it, that's not enough, you know. And of course, there's different goals. To be an artist, you have to really find your place and be, you know, have something unique to offer the world. If you're playing for other people, you have to use everything you know to elevate what they're doing, right?
That's,
you know,
good.
Your job there is to make that artist that you're playing for look great and sound great and be part of enhancing what's there, and let it not be about you. You know, unless they point to you to take a ripping solo, then, you know, then it's about you for 2 minutes or whatever it is, and then it's not about you again.
Yeah.
You know, those are the things. Try to be easy to work with. Not that I've always succeeded in that, but try, you know.
Okay, what's next, and how do you envision the future, you know, of big tours and big events in the post-pandemic?
I think things will eventually get back to normal. Like, things are starting to happen now, quicker than I thought they would, you know. I'm getting some calls to play live now, which is great. I feel like a normal person again. I feel like my normal self again. I'm putting stuff in my calendar. I'm like, yes. So I think it'll take a little while for people to get used to going out again and you know, going to large events. Maybe not going out to a restaurant or whatever, like, but to go to large things and realize that it's okay to be in a crowd with a huge amount of people. But again, I don't really know, you know. I don't know what it'll be like, but I know that people love live music and they love to be there. There's just something about being there, and it's not just the musician. Like, if it was just a musician, we'd all be satisfied. Yeah, I've been playing online shows every week, you know, since the pandemic. And that's cool. People, you know, come watch it, and I'm really grateful for that. And I get to play, and it feels good. But there's an energy when a crowd is in a room that happens. That there's nothing like that. Nothing can equal. When you do a performance, it's half you and it's half the crowd.
Yeah.
You give energy to them and they give energy back to you, and that's what makes the show great. Everyone does their part in that way. It can't just be one-way street. So I don't think anyone will ever get tired of that. I think everyone will always want to be around that. So I'm confident that eventually it'll get back to normal. I just want to come back to Italy. I'm waiting for the moment when I can fly to Italy.
Yeah. And of course, we can't wait to have you back. Do you have any Bob Malone Good People tour dates already in the can, or it's still?
Yeah, in the fall, I've got a bunch of tour dates in the East Coast and a couple out here. East Coast, like New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, where I'm from, Connecticut, like that part of the world. And I've got a date in Florida and out here in LA. So some of that stuff's just coming in. Yeah. And next year, I don't know yet.
Okay.
What's just coming in now is the beginning of, is the first stuff. So yeah, there'll be dates. I'm open to whatever I can get right now. So,
sure. Allora dice,
flying back out of it.
All right. Now we're going to close the show with this interview, actually, with The River Gives, another video that you chose. What's this river? Is there a precise river? And what did it give to you? What's the story behind this song?
The story is there was these really bad floods in West Virginia in 2016. This is the oldest song on the record. And they were doing a big television, telethon to raise money for all the flood victim people that lost their houses and lost their lives, right? And they called me and asked if they could use a video of something of mine for the cause, And I said yeah, and then I got off the phone call. And I just sat down and this whole song just came right out. So then I called back. This was my manager was involved with this. And I called him back. I said, I just wrote a song for this thing. Like the whole thing just came out. And I played it for him over the phone. He's like, oh, it's amazing. But I had one day to make a video and record it and make a video. So I called my producer and he was like, yeah, come over. We'll do it. So it was just a solo piano vocal. We did the video while I was singing, recorded. We did the whole thing, edited it, the whole thing in one day. And the next morning sent it in to play that day. So it was the quickest I've ever went from writing it to recording it to making a video to it being seen. But it was never released, and it was never, it was just solo. I wanted to have a band on, have those singers on it, that really just lifts it up and elevates it to me. So a couple years later, when we were making this record, we went back in the studio and we added the singers and the background singers and the band, and to my original solo piano vocal. Yeah. I played it on this little upright piano that was in the studio, which I think was perfect. It gave it this kind of gospel church piano kind of feeling,
Yeah.
And that's how it came about. So it's kind of in the voice of the people who lived in there, or at least that's what I was going for. So there you have it.
Thanks, Bob, for this interview, for your time. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to see you soon back on stage and back to Italy.
Yes, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. Thanks for having me on.
We did too.
Oh, do I have a second? I just want to say I'm very impressed that you can listen to me ramble on forever and ever and remember it all and then translate it. That's more talent than I have played the piano. That's amazing. The whole time I'm sitting here like, I can't even remember what I just said. and she has to remember the whole thing and then translate it. So anyway, well done. And
thank you so much.
Grazie.
Ciao, Bob. Thank you so much.
Ciao. All right.
Ciao.